John Wooden once said, "A good coach can change a game, a great coach can change a life." My guest today, Michelle Crutcher, is a great coach and is on a mission to help new and aspiring business owners create profitable and sustainable businesses. Armed with over 20 years' experience working with some of the largest global organizations as a procurement professional, Michelle is on a mission to help small businesses become more competitive in their market. I first met Michelle mid last year and have since been privileged to have attended a session Michelle gave on dealing with procrastination and how to manage time and tasks. Such valuable information. In this episode, we discuss how Michelle moved from the procurement space to business coaching, her love of small businesses, and why her new business growth mastermind program is a game changer, and of course, procrastination and time management. You'll even learn who Michelle would have play her in a movie about her life. Come join us. Hey, Michelle. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I really appreciate it. This is something that we've talked about for a little while now, so I'm so excited that you've joined me.
And I'm excited to be here. It's good.
Great.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Fabulous. So I'm going to jump straight in because I am a sucker for a good startup story. And especially given the amount of experience that you've had in procurement, I want you to tell me a little bit about your business journey and what's landed you where you are today.
Yeah, for sure. So, so I've worked in the procurement industry for literally over 20 years. So started in banking and finance. And I guess like most procurement people, we kind of land into that role. And then my experience kind of delved into there. So I spent 20 years in the industry. I got the opportunity to work with some amazing organizations that led from both small business right through to globally listed organizations. And the one thing that I loved the most about that role was probably not so much about, I think people have this perception of procurement people as being the negotiators and the people that want to drive the costs down. And yeah, that's a part of it. But for me, the part that I got the most out of that job was actually working with these organizations on transformational projects and business development opportunities that we could work together with to actually grow their business, give them opportunities. But then in essence, it actually worked for the organizations that I work with. So it's kind of like a win-win. Yeah. So I gained a lot of experience in being able to work with those organizations. For a lot of the smaller organizations, that for me, it was a great opportunity to actually mentor them. Because one of the things that I did experience was we undertook a lot of tenders where by nature, a large organization would want to invite small organizations, but in reality, they just don't have the experience and the actual know-how to be able to compete against and to price the way that large organizations can actually do to drive down the cost that's really attractive to a global organization.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it's such a challenging part of small business because you want to, I'm a big advocate for bringing big business thinking to small business owners, but there are some genuine limitations and small businesses really feel that, but you would have seen a lot of that in your time.
There absolutely is. And I think a couple of years ago there was a real big push for global organizations and really large corporates to actually do more business with small business. And I guess I kind of at times thought that's great, the saying, but in reality I know that's not going to happen because we're going to get into a tender. A small business just literally cannot compete, and to be honest, nor should they, because at the end of the day, I've seen small business really drop their price just to get the brand onto their marketing. And at the end of the day, they lose out because they come back to us 6 months later and say, I need to raise my price. It's such a bad look. So that was the one thing that I really am passionate about, is actually being able to work with small business to say, you can grow, you can compete against these organizations, but also to kind of give them the insight that sometimes you probably shouldn't. Yeah. And that's a challenge for them where they think that, to be successful, I need to work with a large corporate. in actual fact, to be honest, I don't think you do. So it's
Yeah.
getting them to understand what their limitations are, but also to be really strong on their pricing, because the global organization will always want to drive down the cost, get efficiencies for their organization. And sometimes it's really misaligned, and it just ends up in being a bad story for those businesses.
Yeah, and you're so right, because there's a real disconnect between this promotion of you need to work with smaller businesses and then the pressure that big businesses probably not even realizing they're putting on small business half the time, or maybe they are, and it's driving this real wedge between them and they're not being able to compete. And you're right, maybe that's not the area that they need to go into. Maybe they're not the businesses they need to work with. I think it's a really key message that whilst we would like to be a certain way, we may not end up that way, and that's okay. We can still be profitable. We can still have big business. We can still, drive our sales, increase our profitability without necessarily going down that traditional path that we've been led to believe we need to go down.
Yeah. And I think part of your leading into in managing your cost, I think what a lot of small organizations don't realize is, to them, they're a small business. They may have one, they may have two. I've dealt with companies that they're the solo person bidding against these large organizations, and they're still trying to run their business. They're trying to compete in a tender, and that's a massive cost for them, because they're literally out. They're coming to presentations, and it's not just one presentation, it's a number. So, I'm a huge advocate for if you can, absolutely. And if that's the way you definitely want to drive your business, do it. But find the right organization that's actually willing to work with you, to support you, to kind of work with you to leverage, because there's going to be cost involved for that organization. But if you can find a company that will work with a small business that will help them deliver the outcome, but also give them the full support that they're going to need along the way. And I think that at the moment, I see that there's a big gap in that. So that's kind of how I got to being passionate about helping small business, because I've seen it firsthand in them trying to compete. I've seen them not really know what their offer is, which is a real challenge, and not really knowing they're going into this tender, they know the service, but then when you kind of delve into how will you do this and how do you do this and what's your long-term vision and what's the cost structure, they don't really know. And so for me, it was like, I think there's an opportunity here to work with some of them, which has been really good. Yeah. So that's basically my role in procurement. That's how and then during COVID was really the kicker for me. I mean, I loved being in the procurement industry, but I just wanted more, absolutely wanted more out of life. And I just felt like it was a rotating thing. So decided last year, in the middle of COVID, probably not the smartest move to start a small business.
You know how many people have said that exact sentence? Probably not the smartest move in the middle of COVID, but I did it anyway.
I did it anyway. And I just thought that is actually, if I was going to do it, because it actually forced me to actually stay home and do all the preparation for it. Whereas I think if it wasn't COVID, I probably would have got on a plane, ended up somewhere and thought, I'll just worry about that later. But yeah.
So you completely quit your job and moved straight into running a small business.
I did.
A business. Sorry, I shouldn't always call it small, but
I did do my research of what I wanted to do beforehand. So I knew the areas of what I wanted to go into. And then obviously how we met was on the doing digital courses. So I had all these ideas that I could actually leverage off the knowledge and experience that I have and sort of brand it all around, being a coach for small businesses. So
okay. And so can I ask what types of businesses you've been working with since you went out on your own?
Yeah, so in the start, I have tried to keep the numbers of clients I have kind of small at the moment, because I was trying to get a grasp on who I wanted to work with, what I wanted to do, where I wanted to take my business. And I actually wanted to make sure that I had the systems and processes in the back end so that I could fully support the clientele that I was bringing on. So I'm working with a few clients. A couple of them are actually in the fitness industry. So working with a couple of personal trainers who basically, as you know, like coaching, you've only got so many hours in the day and they're capped. So their income is basically stopped. So I'm working with them actually on a couple of creating a couple of online programs that they're doing. So that's been pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And then I've working with a couple of people setting up businesses. I've worked with a friend of mine who worked in the procurement industry as well, and now he's moving forward and opening his own recruitment agency specifically for procurement. So we've been working together on that. So a few different streams, like it's kind of I've gone from pretty much solo business owners, because I think that that's where they sort of need the most help and how they can scale that as they go. So yeah, it's exciting.
I spent some time certainly learning from you how to deal with procrastination. It's one of the first conversations that we had. And man, can I tell you, it is real in business, this whole procrastination. Can I say that I've been feeling a little like that myself of late, given all the changes that I've got going on in my business and new service offerings and different online courses and stuff that I've been developing.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience here. And I know that's not necessarily where we're going to end up in terms of our conversation today, but I'd love to talk a little bit about procrastination. I'd love to talk about whether or not you're including that in some of your service offerings, with what you're doing, because I think it's probably ingrained in everyone anyway. And how are you working with business owners on this particular side?
Yeah. So for me, it's look, to be honest, I'm going to say it, I'm probably one of the worst procrastinators at time. And I do bring out and go, this is actually, I know this works. So I have actually used it because I obviously in my corporate roles, I led numerous teams with all different levels of capability, personalities, and
that's a nice political way of putting it.
Yeah.
Politically correct way of putting it.
Politically correct way. Let's just say different capabilities. And some that were just, I think the biggest thing for me is actually managing people during COVID was, for me as a leader, was the biggest challenge, because I had to give them the freedom to actually say, you know what you've got to do, go do it. But knowing that there would be certain aspects of people who I know would not focus on what they did. So I've actually used the same techniques. I mean, I'm a huge fan of using the Pomodoro technique, which is the same one that we went through, where you basically sit down and you focus for 25 minutes at a time and then walk away, come back. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is actually like just focusing, turning everything off, having the distractions off around you. For me, I don't work well with noise in the background. It's something I've not really enjoyed as well. I work best when it's silent, if I need to really focus on something. So procrastination, yeah, I do. We've implemented the techniques, or given the techniques to some of the clients that I've worked, and they've literally, I mean, especially like if you're sitting there, for instance, trying to write an online program, you know well enough, so you've got to focus, and you've got to have that focus to actually sit down and go, what am I going to do? This is what I'm going to work on now, just get it done. And so that's been, it's a good technique. It's not one we always go to, because I think we get stuck in our head and we try, but it is definitely one to actually get into and set up.
Yeah, I found that since we spent time going through it, I knew about the Pomodoro method before we'd had the session with you, but I found that you gave me some other techniques along with that. So whilst that was the underlying foundation, it provided me with some other techniques. And I think for me that whilst I do still set my timer now, even long after our session, if I am in the zone and I do need to add to it, I just add my timer, but I stay focused. And
I do the same. I do exactly the same. I think the concept of it is actually a concept, right? So I think you adapt it to however it works best for you. I think if you've got people who get my kind of thing is, once you sort of start to get distracted, that's time that you need to walk away and take a break, because there's other leveraging factors. So whether it's go for a walk around the block or go and get a coffee or whatever it is that sort of, gets you revived, it's actually getting out, walking away, so that when you come back, you're ready to refocus. But on the same, 25 minutes is is what they say, but I can, if I'm happy to be focused and I'm sort of really delving into what I need to get done, then I can sit here for an hour, literally. It's my watch that tells me to move.
Unless it's social media. I can't sit here for an hour for social media. I can do it for anything else, but social media, that's the thing I need to get up and walk away from. Like it just, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny because I love content creation, and that's essentially what social media is, especially for our businesses.
Yeah.
And I find you put the word social media into it, and there's that pressure where I feel as though I just can't get past. Like,
I also think it's there where you start to compare yourself to where you think you should be or what you should be doing. It's like, oh, I didn't know I had to do that, or why do I have to do that for my business now? And it's like, oh, okay, well, I need to write this. So I agree with you, completely distracting. So it's kind of, even doing that, I mean, I try to allocate, I use that too. If I go for a morning, I love to go out, have my coffee, sit down somewhere. That's my time to do anything I need to do on social media, where I'm sort of out and and I know that when I come back, I can just put it down.
Yeah.
About that later, because it can be obsessive all through the day.
But you're absolutely right in terms of that comparison, because the other day I've got a scheduling system because I have these thoughts for the day and they go up every single day. And a lot of my other posts I tend to schedule myself. I do them myself, but my scheduling system is for the thoughts of the day, because I figure, my goodness, I'm not going to remember 6 o'clock every day to send this thought or to create one or to whatever. So I use a scheduling system. But the other day, my scheduling system failed on me slightly, and my post didn't go up at 6. It went up later in the day, but I hadn't paid attention to it. And then I put my content post up before the other one. And then all of a sudden I had, my grid looked funny. And then I became obsessed with the fact that my grid looked funny and we have to have this grid looking a certain way. And it was,
it's funny you say that. I still today go and look at my grid and go, I don't like it. Like, but at the end of the day, I go, what am I worried about? It has the content. And then I look at these other ones and I go, oh, they look so pretty. Should I do that?
Well, see, I'm like you. Like I want the content to be the value, but I don't know what it is that my audience is like what's appealing to them. And so here I am looking at these two bits that were together, and I'm like, they're not supposed to be together, and it wasn't supposed to be that way, and it's too late. And then I just literally did the whole, talking about procrastination, I did the whole, oh, well, in 9 days, it's going to be off the first grid thing. So anyway, it'll look.
I use that same thing. Yeah. How many posts until that's not going to look like that? Yeah.
So yeah, it was it's quite funny. Quite funny. Sorry, I kind of got off track there for a moment. But I did want to talk to you today because you have a new online program coming up that I wanted to talk a little bit about. But before I do, I just want to set the scene. So you and I met because, as you mentioned before, we're both looking into going online with our businesses. And, I've recently released my small business cash flow course, which is well into I think it's 6th week now, but probably will be different by the time this recording comes out. But it was the first kickoff and it went really, really well. And I know you and I were talking about different types of programs, but this program that you're coming up with was not the first program that you had in mind initially, but sounds amazing. So it's the Business Growth Mastermind, which is a 3-month online program designed to take your business to the next level and set you up for profit and sustainability. 2 words that I love in my life that I probably use on a daily basis: profit and sustainability. Probably growth too, actually. So tell me about this new program.
Yeah, so this is actually exciting. And as you know, I originally was working on a program which was for time management. So the end-to-end, that's how we got to talk about procrastination in the program. And I guess I do love that. And that's a component that's actually in this program. But for me, I guess I wanted to get, what I was about is actually having a small business go on the journey to create profit and create a business that they can grow and scale and go to whatever level they want to. So I wanted to I took a step back and I go, yeah, time management's great, but it felt misaligned with actually my business model. So I did have a number of, I've had many conversations on what I should do and how to do this. And I've basically landed on this program where it actually takes you from creating the vision of your business, what that looks like in a short-term and a long-term strategy, And then it takes you through the various stages of your business. So from the vision to the goal setting, to the creating your offer, to the sales and marketing around that offer. There will be a component on them on how to manage their numbers, but it'll just be sort of a simplified version. I'll refer them to you for that, Amy.
Simplified.
No, that's not my area of expertise. That's where I'm going to recommend you.
Good. That's what I like. That's what I like to hear. But it's important nonetheless. I totally agree.
Absolutely. So it takes them through the different phases of what they actually need to have in place to set up a business. So that's kind of where we got to in the thinking of it. So it feels more aligned to my brand. It will be have a component of the online curriculum, but they'll be heavily focused on the coaching part, and the online stuff that we'll do is we'll give them, you get one-to-one coaching, you get group coaching, we've got Q&A sessions, we've got private community. So all the things that you would get in a coaching session, but you've also got that really detailed curriculum as well. So it's a kind of a hybrid program. So
yeah. And for 3 months, that's a big commitment. Can you tell me a little bit about the time commitment around that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the time we've got weekly, I think we're going to have about 3 live sessions weekly. The curriculum they'll have for a lifetime. So they can literally go step by step, because as you know, everyone's at different stages in their business and we want to focus on different things. So we're still deciding, do we drop it at different, but considering that people will be on different journeys and where they'll kind of come in, the program will be up there. So it will require them to sort of, if you look at 5 to 10 hours a week to get through the content. But the way that I've designed it is you can actually, whatever you learn, you can implement it straight into your business. So if you kind of go step by step, if you're starting a business or you kind of have a startup or you've got a side hustle, you want to go and make it profitable, then you start with the vision and the strategy. And if you follow it step by step, you can literally take the content, implement it into your business. We'll have the tools, techniques. We're going to give them a whole bunch of templates to kind of take the stress out of stuff that they would have to think about. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
I love that, because even though it's a decent time commitment of 5 to 10 hours roughly a week, I think, like you said, they're going to be implementing things as they go along. So you're committing that time to a startup anyway, or you're committing that time to, because I'm assuming that it's not just startups, it could be those that are going back and wanting to reignite their businesses. And what I mean by that is that I've even come across a lot of business owners who started, and you would know yourself that when you start, sometimes you just kind of go at it like a bull at a gate, because you just think you have to. You've got, there's this survival mechanism in place. Some people have quit their jobs before they actually have thought too much about the process, but they know they're onto a winner. But they get to a point where, I'm just doing everything to survive. And now I'm coming back and going to do it the right way.
And this is the program I would have loved to have had, when someone goes, do this, follow it step by step. I mean, having worked in the business area, like I knew about goal setting and creating your vision and understanding sort of that, what your business looks like in what we would call a business plan. But there's definitely elements of that I've learned along the way, like attracting your client, or what even your client looks like. So I've done a lot of research and spoke to a lot of small business owners in where their struggles are, what they would have wanted when they started their business. And hopefully I've sort of captured a lot of and answered their questions. So, yeah.
And that's the way to start, isn't it? When we think about our ideal client, we start with what questions are they actually going to ask us? What questions are they going to be motivated, or where are the gaps in their understanding? And then we answer those questions. That's a really good place to start. So,
and that's a tough one. Like, I know that I even struggle. I still struggle today. It's like, they say niche down, niche down, niche down. But in essence, like for me, I want to serve new business owners, but even those that have the concept but just don't know how to go forward with it. So not specifically for female business owners, like it's just so, but a lot of people just don't know who their true customer is.
Yeah. Look,
where to go from that.
I remember when I first started out in business 11 years ago. 11 years ago.
Wow.
Almost to the day, literally. I've just realized, sorry, a bit of a brain. All right. So when I started out in business 11 years ago, I remember thinking I wanted to serve everybody, like,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
honestly believed in what I was doing. And there was this genuine connection to, I think I can serve male business owners, female business owners at different places in their businesses, different parts of their journey, because I think what I have to offer actually works at every different stage for every different business owner, for every different industry. And I even designed my career around that. Like I chose particular industries for that reason. So I knew about those industries. So when I started out in business and kind of went, yeah, I'm going to serve all and sundry.
Yeah.
It didn't evolve that way. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm often quizzed as to why I have a lot of pink in my branding. And it's not necessarily that I went out in, you know, specifically looking for female business owners to serve. It just evolved that way.
Yeah.
So I think I had to respond to that. Like, and
I agree.
It would have been remiss of me not to. And, you know, I work with male business owners, and they often say to me, why all the pink? And I have to just say, you know, look, the most common people that come to me are female business owners. And it's not something that I chose, but I'm happy to work with everybody.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm believer as well, as people attract to you for a reason, and whether that be female because they feel a connection with you as well. So I kind of look at that. That's a big component as well. I mean, but you're right. You definitely have to know who specifically, and it's all related to how you market, how you promote, like getting to know who's going to listen to you and what is that person thinking. So that's been one of the biggest challenges for me as a business owner myself. Is actually
for the same reason, because
the fact is, what I do is I know that I can, like you, help any business because I've done it. I've worked with males, I've worked with females, I've worked with big salespeople. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, but it's who's actually going to be connected to you naturally, to be that natural fit to work with you, whether it's one-on-one or in a group setting.
Yeah. And if we think of the platforms that we use as business owners these days, I say these days because I'm like 105 years old and there were different marketing when I was back in the day. But, you know, we think of the platforms and we're limited to some degree because we've got this one-dimensional view of the world if you're not using video, but one-dimensional view in terms of being able to create some sort of connection on, you know, blog posts, because they're just a bit of paper. And so we need to be able to connect where we can and say all the right things. So it's remiss of us, but it's really fantastic that that's going to be part of the process in your online course or online program. I keep calling it a course, sorry, because we've been in courses, but online program. And I think 3 months is a really good time frame as well, to stay.
I did actually toss up the time. And then I thought, this would originally be a 6-month program. But at the end of the day, my thinking behind reducing it to half is the fact that you can do it in 3 months. Having it for 6 months is probably just you then procrastinating to actually get it done. So it kind of forces people, you've got me for 90 days. You've got the program for life. But you've got me for 90 days. So, you know, let's get through it as quickly as possible so that it makes the biggest impact. And it's about, like, it is about actually not just the length of time. It's actually, well, what's going to make the biggest impact to your business? And in actual fact, it's doing it and implementing it, getting it done.
3 months is the perfect time for that sort of thing. And it's a perfect time to start laying the foundations. Even if you then go back and reconsider all of the components that you've put into the program, that you have to go back and have, you know, a lot of it sounds as though it's those things that we have to challenge frequently anyway. So like our ICA, our ideal customer, we're still going to have to continue over the years.
Exactly. That's going to evolve as your business evolves.
Yeah.
Just 100%. Like your vision, just like your goals, whatever you set today is not going to be, yes, you can have a long-term strategy of what you think your business is going to look like today in the future, but in actual fact 6 and 12 months you'll get down the track and go, oh wow, you know, I've decided to go this way or so it is something that you definitely need to go back to and reflect on.
Yeah. And I love the lifetime access. You know, I'm a big fan of it. I've got it in my course as well. You know, if people don't know enough about it, it needs to be shouted from the rooftops, because I think that whilst we put these 3-month, you know, timeframes on certain things, it's more just that connection in terms of that one-on-one connection that drives that 3-month mark. But lifetime programs and those that give you access. The brilliant thing about them is I'm assuming that any updates that you put in as your business evolves, as the model of that program evolves, everyone's going to benefit from going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's, to me, that's priceless, you know, in terms of setting those programs. So this is going to be a big commitment. So you're looking for those people that are ready to commit, that are really serious about starting their business right, or perhaps reconnecting with their business and all the nuts and bolts of the foundations that are important to run a successful business.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So I want people who are literally going to come into it and commit to it. Yeah. Because it's great to have it, but if you're not going to fully commit to it and, you know, attend the classes and you're not going to get the full value out of the program. So
and we design, speaking from experience, you design programs in a certain way, whether it be time frame, whether it be the way the information drops, whether it be the way you've constructed the information to flow in a certain way for a particular reason. And so whilst everyone will be at a different journey throughout that 3-month program, I'm assuming, people still need to acknowledge that the process, they need to still go through the process for a particular reason for that success.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so committing to that 3 months is paramount, I think, to making sure that works.
Yeah. Totally agree.
So tell me about the release of this program.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's still a whole bunch of stuff doing it at the moment. I actually started to record some stuff this morning. So I have set my date for mid-April, but I will be looking to do a pre-launch of it as well and have probably a founding members discount attached to it. So I'll probably offer it for 50% off, but we're working through the details of that at the moment. So
for those that don't know what a founding member is to get in at the ground floor on a brand new program such as this. They can benefit from it. You're probably going to give them a whole stack of additional value for
so what I want to do with the foundation members, we will be offering a 50% discount. Fabulous. But what you'll actually be able to get hold of is you'll obviously have access to that program not have access to the program, but you'll have access to me as a coach for the couple of weeks prior. So we'll actually be able to get a head start on some stuff. So that will be sort of a driving factor to actually get in. Yeah.
That's a big bonus. That's a huge bonus, and 50% off. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to definitely put details of the program in the show notes.
Excellent.
And I'm also going to include links of how people can get in contact with you so they know exactly when that information is going to drop. So that will be there. Now I'm turning to you, Michelle. Personally, I want to know a little bit about when you're not working in and on your business. Where do we find you and what are you doing?
You would find me when it's not COVID, planning a trip overseas.
When did COVID end?
I know when's. I mean, it's over, but I feel like COVID's a distant memory with everything that's going on in the world.
Oh, right. Yeah, good point, actually.
I love to travel. That's really what I love to do. So planning my trips, but I'm a beach girl. I love to go down the beach, walks, love training, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Can I ask what destination is on your list when you want?
So before COVID, I went and did Italy, and so definitely Italy, and to do more of it is on my list. I want to be like under the Tuscan sun. That's what I want to do. So my business is going to let me do that, right?
Of course it is. Of course, laptop lifestyle.
Laptop lifestyle, exactly.
100%. And I'm sure people will love seeing you turn up live with the Tuscan sun behind you.
Oh, gosh, I never even thought of that. So that's an added bonus, Amy. Why would you not want the program?
I know. Put that in your marketing strategy for sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
I do have one last question for you that I've been asking all of my guests this year. And I want to know, who would you have play you in a movie about your life and why? Now, it doesn't need to be someone necessarily that looks like you. It could be a character that you may have resonated with.
So I do love the movie Eat, Love, Pray. And I'm not saying Julia Roberts would, but is it Julia Roberts? It's actually, no, I don't think it's her, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Is it her? Yeah. So I love that movie. The fact that you could take a year off and just literally focus on you. And that's what,
So you'd have Julia Roberts play you from that character.
Oh, why not? From that character.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Why not have Julia Roberts play you?
I don't know if it's a match, but you know, it's like
It's not about that. It's about the energy that
exactly.
and that movie, I tend to agree with you. I really
Oh my God, I love that movie. Yeah.
love that movie as well. And the concept of it, I think it's amazing, that concept. You know, why wouldn't we want to eat our way through Italy? Like,
having been there and literally doing that, it was funny because before we went, I've got an Italian friend, and I said, and a friend of mine that we went with, I said, can you just teach us some Italian before we go? And she goes, yeah, sure. What do you want to know? I'm like, really, pizza, pasta, and gelato. That should get me through, right? She goes, I think you're fine. I think you grasp the language, which we did.
Well, when I went over to Italy, I wanted to learn one phrase, and the only thing I could muster up was "Io non parlo italiano," which means I don't speak Italian.
Yeah.
Because of my features, everyone just assumed that I could speak Italian or Spanish, depending on where I was. And one guy argued with me because I said the sentence, and he said, "See, you can speak Italian." I'm like, no, that wasn't the point. The point was I learnt one line. Yeah. But as long as you know pizza and pasta, I tell you what, and gelato.
Life's great.
Life's great.
I don't think I've eaten gelato much for lunch ever before, but it was so good. The day with gelato, how good's life?
I loved the delicacy was spaghetti and meatballs in Venice. Like that was the most expensive thing on their menu. And it's like, okay, as you do.
Why not?
But I hope you get there soon enough. And I know it's probably not far from getting there. So I think travel will be on the cards soon enough. And you're right, your business is going to take you there 100%. And I'm so excited about this program. Can't wait to hear more about it. Yeah. But like I said, I'll put all the details in the show notes. And Michelle, thank you again for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Love the chat.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.